What to grow in March? 5 great plants that I think you absolutely need to grow. Not just edibles, not just flowers, not just seeds, so that over time you can easily build up your own collection of great plants. Plants that are going to give you tasty food, loads of colour and scent from flowers, and most of all, fill your garden all year round. Hey everyone, how's it going? And welcome back. I have got 5 super cool plants to share with you this month. And what a month. March for me is just one of the best months to get growing because in so many places the weather is really turning that corner and spring is kicking in. Just look around. Everything is starting to pop up, green up and flower up. So let's get stuck in. March is the traditional time where you would sow leeks, but I've got a really cool vegetable for you now, which isn't just going to feed you in one year, it's perennial. So it's going to go on providing you with crops year after year. Babington leeks, and this is what they look like. As you can see, they're a slightly thinner version of a standard leek, and their flavour is a little bit more garlicky, but they're exceptionally handy to have dotted around the veg garden. And that's what I'm doing. They have, well, quite a funny life cycle. They emerge in early winter and grow through the spring like this. And then you can harvest them once they're mature, which is generally sometime between March and June. You cut them right down to the ground, but under the ground, under the soil, there's a bulb, which over the years gets bigger and stronger. That bulb sits dormant all the way through the summer and autumn, until then it regrows again in winter, and the whole thing starts again. How great is that? If you leave the plant to go to flower, it then creates these wacky flowers and then seed heads that just look incredible, like some mad firework. But look closer. Those aren't seed clusters. Those are actually mini bulbils, little mini Babington leek bulbs, ready to develop straight into plants. Break them apart and pop them into a little bit of compost and they quickly grow, then plant out. That's what I'm going to be doing with all of these. You can buy the plants as either the plants themselves or little bulbils, but whatever you opt for, you'll introduce a really handy perennial vegetable into your garden. For my next plant, I'm getting low to the ground. My original love in terms of gardening is flowers, and I want to suggest a striking flower that's well known for really good reasons. Plus, it's a perennial. Lupins, which is what I've got here. They're known for their striking appearance with tall, colourful spikes of flowers that range from deep purples and blues to vibrant pinks and yellows. You can either buy them like this, as plants, or sow the seed now. That's what I did last year. And these are the plants that I sowed from seed, and you can see how well established they already are. Even in year 1, they're going to produce some spires of flowers. And for these were dark pinks, and I have them planted here in my fruit tree guilds. So now I'm adding more, a lot more. I have here 2 different lupins. This one is called My Castle, which is going to produce really deep, dark red flowers. And Masterpiece, which I can't wait to see here. It produces big columns of really dark aubergine purple flowers. Lupins can thrive in a whole wide range of climates and soil types, although they do prefer a well-drained soil and full sun or partial shade. But once you get them in the ground, they actually require minimal maintenance once they're established, making them a fantastic choice, whether you're new to gardening or you're an experienced gardener. Now, slugs. Slugs adore lupins, so you've been warned. Make sure that you give whatever lupins you have lots of protection, because you can pretty much guarantee that otherwise they're going to be eaten in a flash. One of the great advantages of growing lupins is that, as well as just being beautiful and nice for us, they can improve your soil fertility. Because they're legumes, like peas and beans, they convert atmospheric nitrogen into a form that's usable for plants. They fix nitrogen into the soil they enrich the soil, and that reduces the need for synthetic fertilisers. And as if all of that wasn't enough, lupins attract such a variety of pollinators. They're so popular with bees and butterflies, so it's going to enhance the biodiversity of your garden. So you can see lupins, a really brilliant all-rounder that I think are worth having. Don't worry about getting out your pen and paper to note down the plants that I talk about in today's episode. Instead, head across to my website, niallgardens.com, or follow the link in the description down below for all of my show notes and further details. If you've watched my channel for a while now, you'll know that I'm not exactly the most successful grower when it comes to the old brassicas, but my next plant recommendation is one that actually has worked for me. So I'm thinking if it works for me, it has to work for you, right? So they're colettes. They are a hybrid between a kale and a Brussels sprout that produce these really intriguing looking sprouts that, rather than being tightly balled up like a traditional sprout, they're open and frilly like a little micro cabbage. That's exactly what they're like, actually, a little micro cabbage sprout. The colour is this brilliant dark purple, which you can already see tinged in the leaves of the seedlings, that then when you cook them, it turns to bright green. Like all brassicas, they are packed full of nutrients. In terms of flavour, they're mild and have a lovely sweet nutty flavour, which for me is that little bit less intense than a Brussels sprout flavour, even though I do love them. And it lacks that bitterness that some people often find off-putting. Because they've got that more open structure, they barely need any steaming when you're cooking them, and then they're just perfect. Mine even made it into my Christmas dinner this year. Now is the time to sow them. You can certainly sow them direct outdoors in a seed bed, but I prefer to sow just a few into a small seed tray. They don't need any heat to germinate. Then I'm going to pot them on, keep growing them on, and then finally plant them out in the beds in their final spot, where they're going to grow on all the way through the year until the end of the year, which is when they should start producing those lovely little sprouts. They make for a proper talking point, and I think you're going to enjoy them. Not just growing them, but looking at them, and of course eating them. Hardy annuals are the perfect choice to get colour into your garden really quickly. Sow them now, and you're going to have loads of gorgeous flowers in a matter of a few short months. And if you choose a hardy annual, that's going to be tough enough to survive the cold, so you don't need to worry about nurturing them too much, and it makes them really easy to grow. So my top pick for March, if I had to pick one hardy annual, cornflowers. The flowers of cornflowers are evocative of meadows and country gardens, light and airy in that shade of blue that, we all know as cornflower blue. I'll dot them amongst planting here to fill in gaps and add extra flower power. I had loads of them dotted all the way through the fruit tree guilds here last year, and they performed really well. But look beyond the standard blues to introduce something a little bit different. You can get mixes that include whites and pinks, but my absolute favourite is one called Black Ball, which produces dark burgundy flowers. I'm such a sucker for any kind of dark red, purple coloured flower. If you fancy, you can simply direct sow the little seeds into the soil where you want them to grow. They're like little miniature shuttlecocks. But I like having just that little bit more control than that. So I start mine off in seed trays like this. Then I'm going to prick them out, pot them on into small pots to grow on a little bit before finally planting them out exactly where I want them in the garden. They're such reliable plants to grow from seed. I only got these going about 10 days ago. So if you're in any way nervous about trying to grow something from seed, or it's your first time, these are for you. They're going to boost your confidence, and they're going to boost the colour in your garden, and they're going to boost biodiversity because they're really popular. Give them a go. Normally every month I like to suggest something that I've never suggested before. Well, from this March, I'm going to break my own rules, because last year in March I recommended sowing and growing tomatoes, and I'm going to do the exact same this year. Not because I'm short of ideas, just for the record, but because I really do believe that they are one of the best things that you can grow. They're so easy and reliable for beginners. They provide a crop that's got a real taste difference when you grow it at home compared to the supermarket. So it keeps the flavour nerds and the foodies happy. And there's also just what it feels like to be able to choose from so many different varieties if you're wanting to be more adventurous. And March is the perfect time to get them going. I'm not a fan of starting them too early. I find that if you do, you end up having to give them so much TLC in terms of light and heat. Whereas if you start them now and allow them to develop nicely as the season goes on, you're going to have a beautiful crop in the summer. If I had to suggest just 3 specific tomatoes, okay, it would have to be 1, Sun Gold with its really lovely golden orange-yellow cherry fruits. 2, Rainbow Blend, an F1 variety that's tasty and perfect for salads. And 3, San Marzano, which is perfect for making sauces. Over the last few years, I've grown mine down in the polytunnel at the back of the garden. But this year, I'm growing my tomatoes here in the greenhouse. Depending on your climate, you can certainly grow them outside as well. But here in Ireland, I find that just that extra bit of heat is going to make them perform that little bit better. So pick at least 1 tomato variety to grow this year, because trust me, you are not going to be disappointed. Before you go, sowing and planting times do vary from region to region, so remember to look up and really understand your own local growing conditions and your last frost date. Last month's suggestions from me in this video are still going to be great if you're growing early on this month, but at the same time, next month's video is perfect if you want to start thinking ahead, get a head start, or if you're in a warmer area than me. And until next time, see you later.